and welcome back to the second episode of the URC Chumps. Today I'm here with Kirby from South Africa. How are you, Kirby?
Oh, I'm good, and you, man? Just a bit, how can I say? It's a little bit warmer this side of the world at the moment, so I'm enjoying that at the moment. And your side?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same up here. Nice all day, about 17, 18 degrees, which is essentially a heat wave in Ireland.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
yeah, we're going to talk about the review of the two games that happened last weekend, and we're going to preview the two games this weekend. So the first thing I was going to ask you was about the South Africa Australia game. Your thoughts about it, if you have any stats, any opinions on it that you'd like to share.
uh you know what? I'm gonna actually be absolutely honest. As a South African, I loved it. Um, I I loved it, but as a rugby lover, I found it was actually not that great of a game. Just due to the fact there was so much of a walkover. I mean, there was already a bonus point
Yeah,
in the first half, and of course, down here in the Southern Hemisphere, you have to score three more tries than your opposition to get the bonus point.
yeah. Obviously, as well, I woke up at 5:15 in the morning, and I can't say that it was completely worthwhile for the whole getting up because I expected. I actually said Australia would win the game, so I mean, it was not worthwhile. The five in the morning alarm going off on my phone was not worth it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was completely dominated by South Africa. There were one or two things where Australia did do better. I think the lineouts, they stole two out of the whole game. But I mean, the fact of the matter is they couldn't break through the defense. They couldn't. I don't know. I
Yeah.
lost count of how many times they actually got into the 22 before we pushed them back out. And out of all the 22 visits, there was only one time when they actually scored, and and that was the one try that they scored.
And they were
But I
against
mean,
13 men at the time to try as well.
yes, and that too was against 13 men. And I mean, there was a point that as a rugby lover, I'm like, just for the love of Almighty, just go for the points when they had penalties, but they didn't. They kept on trying to. But this is the thing about test match. You sometimes you take a gamble and you lose horribly, and you sometimes you take a gamble and you win perfectly. And that could either be taking the 3 points instead of going for the seven, or taking the seven where you should have taken three.
Yeah, well, I think the main part of what Australia done right was defensively, especially in that first half. It could have been very easy. They could have conceded a lot more than what they did. I thought they done well. Obviously, the first try that they conceded is it's a bit of Razzie magic, isn't it? The whole throw to the line out down and just bully your way
It's
over. They
I mean, funny enough, I've been listening to a few other people on the internet moan and say that was actually a penalty. But according to the laws and everything like that, due to the fact that the two front Australians engaged, it was a maul. If Australia
yeah,
had stepped back and South Africa had gone into them, then it would have been a penalty to Australia. But I mean, that's a very fine line. Do you take the risk and do that, and then South Africa notices and plays a quick ball out to like Cheslin or to Reinach or something like that, who's very quick off the mark? Or do you go and try and hopefully break down the mall before it can actually get anywhere? But I think it was something like five against two at that initial mall engagement.
yeah, it was. I read that it was totally legal in the fact that two Australians engaged it, and because it was in a weird laws loophole that the line out was over because once you pass it away, the line out's over. But
Yeah.
because two Australians engaged, that's a perfect. It was a perfectly legal ball. But I don't think I said last week that I thought that South Africa would target them all because that's how Wales got a lot of their tries against Australia, and they did target them all, not in the traditional way, but in the way of tricks around it and kind of playing on the mind of the Aussies.
I mean, it almost reminded me of the old New Zealand style where they used to have the two pods in the lineouts and then they break up and then the scrum half runs through the middle. But without the run through, it was like, oh, into straight into another pod, which went straight back into another
Yeah,
South African strength using the forwards and basically, in the words of most of the rest of the world, bully the team over.
yeah. Well, of course, part of rugby. I think that and because of that law's loophole and because it's fine line, I can't see South Africa trying it again. I'm sure that Australia will be drilled now to if they pass it, they'll probably step back and let South Africa concede a penalty. But it was
But
brilliant innovation.
I mean, they did try it again at the next line out in that same position, but of course, this time they changed it up where it literally bumped straight out to the back of the maul and straight out into the line, which I think,
Yeah,
if I'm
they
not
did.
mistaken, in the end, Kirtley managed to break through and score a try with his first out of
Yeah, I
two.
think that was Kurt Lee's first try. I'm pretty sure. Yes,
Yeah,
where he burst through the line. They tried a couple
yeah,
of different variations off the line out, but at the scrum, it was same old South Africa. There was no variation, but it was straight force. Was it four scrum penalties? I'm pretty sure
yeah.
it was four. Could have been five.
I mean, generally, when I sit there and I watch, I literally can count it down to where you see the referee's arm go out for a penalty with South Africa. Just the way that they hit and they push through. I mean, you got the likes of even Etzebeth and Peter Stiff in your locks, and those boys are strong. I mean, there's a story at the Stormers when Kitchoff and even were playing together. They actually ended up duct taping extra weights on the heaviest dumbbell because it wasn't heavy enough. And the two of them used to go that they actually had to buy heavier weights just for the two of them to use.
I could believe that anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
the fact is, when you can take off Steve, when you don't have Stephen Kitchoff, who's one of the best scrummagers in the world, and you have Ox and Che starting, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's extremely hard to combat that.
I mean, when I first saw Ox, I was like, yes, is this guy? Because he looked a lot smaller than most of the guys that we produce. And I was like, oh boy, okay, cool. You know what? He's got Ox, which is actually the English version of Os. I don't know if you remember Os Durant. So
Yeah,
we
Oscar
basically
Duran.
we got a new Os and everything like that. And flip, just watching him come on, he did his thing. He stuck to the basics, and because he stuck to the basics, and he had such a awesome pack helping him push forward, he's become phenomenal right now. And I mean, he's up there with one of the top loose heads. And I mean, the problem is here in South Africa, when you go watch a scrum at one of the local games, you're like, who's going to come off second best? Because you
Yeah,
rate everyone, even if like Vessels and all that playing this weekend. Like, I'm almost not worried. It's a bit inexperienced, but then they got someone like Thomas Du Toit who's going to help cement that front row.
yeah. Thomas Dutoy had an amazing season for Bath on the other side, and he's replacing another fella who was absolutely exceptional at scrum, the great Franz Malherbe. I mean, another exceptional performance. Whenever Franz Malherbe is playing, you just know you're going to get a job done at scrum. He's up there. It's between I've always said for the last 5 years between himself and Weenie Antonio of France for who's the best uh, tight head in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you have to throw in another name that came off the bench during that game, and that's Vincent Koch as well. I mean, that guy
Oh yeah,
is
Vincent Koch as well.
phenomenal. He is an absolute beast. Think I still met him, when was it? A couple of years ago, just when Dwayne Vermeulen signed with Toulon, and I still shook his hand. He was playing for the Stormers then, and I said to him, I was like, "Your time is coming," and he was so humble and said, "I'm not that good enough." And literally the next season, he was up at Saracens.
Yeah, I mean, the fella, what has he got? I think he's got three European Cups or something, and he's got all these club accolades, and then he's got two World Cup titles on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is Gallagher Premiership, and
Won three premierships, I think, three or four, one or the
yeah,
other.
I mean, unfortunately, he's at the Sharks. Like I said, they're a bit overrun with high talent that
Well,
just doesn't seem
he
to
won
be.
the challenge. He won the Challenge
Uh,
Cup, which is kind of the only thing he didn't
yeah,
have.
yeah. So, but I mean, and the URC yet, he still needs to get one of
Yeah, he
those.
doesn't have the URC. Maybe he should
Yeah,
join the Bull Stormers. He'd have a better chance. But
yeah.
the couple of other outstanding performers you mentioned him, Peter Steph Dutoy, workhorse, just doesn't seem to regard his own safety. He was phenomenal again, wasn't he? Just no stopping him.
I mean, yeah, he was phenomenal. I mean, you can't deny that. Though for the first time in I don't know how many games he's played, someone else in the team beat him in the tackle count, and that was none other than BJ Dixon with 19. I think that's now tied second in the top tackles for the tournament so far. I mean, he's going to go down because he's not actually playing this weekend.
Yeah,
So,
he's dropped for the weekend.
but I mean, I think it
Yeah,
was
there's
Kerwin or someone said it's unfair that they have like two Peter Steffs running on the field.
yeah. I mean, Ben Jason Dixon came on. He started. He wasn't meant to start. He started and he was phenomenal as well. As was his other sort of inexperienced at test level back rower. I highlighted him last week. Elric Lowe just seemed to carry into everything and everyone. And
No, I mean, Ulrich Loh actually impressed me. He stepped up to the game that I was hoping he would. But I mean, again, it's South Africa again. When you look at a team, you're like, okay, cool. Obviously, there's something that Rassi's seen in you that I might have missed. I mean, that guy's head in the game is so different, and it's not even funny.
yeah, he is a tactical genius, Erasmus. As much as he loves to wind people up, including the Irish, he to be fair, no one can take away. He's a mastermind. He's the first coach to ever win two World Cup titles as the head coach. Because Graham Henry was the head coach in 2011 for New Zealand, not Hansen.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have
New
this, and
Zealand
then
were
the
the
back
first back to
line.
back. He was the first coach, or
He was the
he was
first
part of the
coach
whole
back to
setup.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah, because Steve, as I say, Graham Henry was actually the manager in 2011 at the home World Cup,
yeah.
and then it was Hansen in 2015. But Erasmus, well, obviously Erasmus technically wasn't the head coach, but he was the head coach in 2023. If you
Yeah,
look at it, when it's all the fellas shouting in the microphone, it's Erasmus that's shouting in the microphone. It's no one else.
but technically, Rassie has three medals, gold medals from the World Cup. That's technically four medals that he's got. I mean, he's got just as much medals as he has got that World Cup South Africa's one. Probably the most decorated person in rugby right now.
Yeah, well, there's no other person that can ever play that forward with us because nobody's South Africa the only country that forward, and nobody else has sort of been around South Africa itself from '95 to '07 to 19 to
Yeah,
2023. But again, the back line also impressed Feinberg and Panzulu. He's got the early penalty, but after that, showing his
yeah.
short head and young shoulders.
I mean, he had to bounce him at some point. You know, he's got his missed art, so he's now showing the ball that he is human. But he almost reminds me a bit of a Monty Libbok. I mean, John Dobson calls Monty Libbok a bit of a goldfish, but in a good way, not in a bad way. That Monty can miss a kick, but as soon as he's in that line attacking, he's doing what he has to do. And I think this is where the likes of Monty Libbok and Sacha outshine someone like Alton Yankees in his prime. Because
Yeah,
Alton Yankees, if he had missed a kick, his head's gone. I mean, you go look. I can't remember when it was. I think it was 2014, 15 when France came to Cape Town. There was a time where he literally dropped the ball, and we had such a lead, but his head dropped. But you go do that to Sacha or Monty, even Andre. They're like, okay, that happened. Now for the rest of the game. Not oh, I dropped the ball. Oh, well, no, no, no. They just go. They literally don't care what happened in the last 3 seconds ago, and they just concentrate on the next until the next final whistle.
yeah. Well, I was really impressed with Sacha. That's obviously his first start at 10. His first kind of taking the independent role more. So I know he had a couple of lads in back line who had fast experience, fast start at night, fast experience, but he took the game by scruff of the neck in the first half when it was still, up until the 35th minute, he was kind of up in the air, Australia were playing all right, and then he just took it and ran with it. And he made that half break, he made that line break, and he passed to LaRue, who for some reason did pass outside, and that was another try that he should have set up.
It should have gone back, right?
I wanted the box to win, but obviously I wasn't that bothered. I was shouting at the roof pass. I woke up my family because he had a 3-on-1 overlap and he ran straight into Tom Wright, I think it was.
I was going to
That's he ran straight into Tom Wright to pass the ball out to as but that was Feinberg was doing as well. Where can Australia go right? How can Australia probably winning out this weekend? They probably look at it because it's a bot B team. They'll probably try and motivate themselves a bit more. Where could a bot B team is still one of the scariest things in the world? You see some of the names on that list, it's incredible, but it's not their full strength team. Where can Australia find a target or go? We can try and exploit this if there's anywhere they can try and exploit.
Well, I mean, the only way I can really see is probably the lineouts because I mean you've got three extremely strong guys heading up the scrums. I mean the joke is apparently we have four what's it called hookers being Jan Krobler, Malcolm Marks, Marco van Staden who played hooker against
Yeah,
Romania in the World Cup, and then Chase and Colby, the three scrum halves.
I don't believe it. I don't believe the TV. I saw Kobe show the talent.
I mean, I still remember that first scrum. I was like, because I was watching on my phone because I didn't want to wake up my family, and I was like, wait, did Ryan play on the scrum cap? Then I took Ryan behind the line, and me when I saw that, I was actually like, damn, that's actually quite good because that's a fast attacking line then. Because what happens is
Yeah,
you get your winger defeated in, comes out straight into your best ball with the sensors, and Ryan's right there ready to pass off. And
yeah.
to me, that makes sense. It keeps the game quick and it doesn't allow the defense to set up time to set the line. But I mean, like I said, the only way I can really see him is actually in the lineouts. I mean, the fact that Jan Krobler's first game outside along with Jan Hendrik Vessels. Someone who actually played out. Rowan Nukia, he's been in and out of the setup, with injury and everything that has like delayed his count. But the thing is, though, when it comes to replacements, I mean, you got even Esbeth and Cocker Smith. We actually went with the 5-3 split, which is, oh my gosh, so I feel 5-3 split at the moment.
Right, so he's not Williams.
Yeah, and yet you didn't say anything about Argentina's 6-2 split last weekend.
Surprising.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at it, you got Argla, you got Peter you got Ronica, you got someone you can all jump. And I mean, they're not small guys. I mean, yeah, okay, cool. Maybe our average height is, I think, 1 or 2 centimeters shorter than Australia, but overall, it's still a pretty tall front row.
Like,
Yeah, and I mean, they're not weak guys. I mean, these guys are also quite strong, so you're going to try to do something, but you're going to have to try to do it hectically. I mean, I don't
yeah,
know
well,
what
I think that if Australia are to target the box, I think it has to be discipline. You don't. The main thing is because it's an inexperienced team, as much as Australia are an experienced team. I thought that showed on Saturday was they don't even know idea what to do. But that's the thing. The box I picked a lot of guys who are on zero pass or less than 10 anyway, less than 10 pass. So you have to try and see can you take penalties out of these guys. Do Australia have a long range kicker? I don't think they do. They'd be killed as some like a Reece Hodge now or a Kirby Bean instead of knocked over from the other side of the continent. But
Yeah,
they do need to try and exploit that. I think if they're to well at least make it a game because they
but
can't
yeah,
not make it a game. They can't get smashed again.
I mean, looking at the team for Australia, the fact that they've actually got two debutants busy playing now as well, that does actually make. I
Yeah,
mean, okay, Cyril Uru, he's had a phenomenal season with the Reds now in the Super Rugby. The games I did watch, he was a workhorse, but the level of like Super Rugby and the level of international is a little bit different. So I mean, that is going to play a role. The thing is, they put in Nick White. That we don't have Fluffy Clark, but
yeah,
is that a clever move, especially in South Africa? Because you're not only just going to have South Africans chipping in, you have the crowd. Because don't forget, they're in Perth, and right now Perth is loaded with South Africans because there's the biggest fight afterwards.
yeah.
And I mean, even the Springboks event, I mean, I think the news
Yeah,
reports
Casey and
here,
Estevez are walking out. Yeah, they're walking
yeah,
out or something.
yeah, so they're going to walk breakers up before the fight. So I mean, that says it's going to be quite a huge South African like
Following his
presence.
cards.
Yeah, so I mean, that is a little bit concerning if you think about it.
Well, I don't think they're going to be phased by the fans because he always seems to right people. I think the one thing that they might catch Nick White on is more Van den Berg. For his first test, that guy's rapid. Watching him with the lights to see that guy's bloody rapid. Nick White is not the quickest nine in the world. He's not known for it. Van den Berg, if he can snipe and try to exploit any small gap, that guy's gone.
Yeah,
Instead of having to cause havoc for the Lions this season when the two ends be gone like that and no one can catch him. So I think they might try targeting Nick White like that.
I mean,
Anyway,
what with the Lions is November started his career at 9. He only started it to 10 when it was an issue, and he excelled in it. So they literally gave him that jersey. I mean, that's part of the reason why I believe Hendricks is leaving to go back to shots, which I believe is career suicide right now. Um,
definitely.
uh, which kind of works. So Vandenberg, like, even though he's great, will you have that same chemistry with Sasha? There's the question. But Sasha's an all-round player that's great and everything like this. I actually can't wait until replacements come on because we're talking to a couple of buddies of mine, and our prediction is that first he'll go off and Sasha will go to 15, which will probably give him a little bit more freedom to do whatever he wants with attack.
Yeah,
The kind of arm comes off for Conde Pollard, and Monty will start in at 10, which, yeah, but I mean, the whole thing when we were talking about discipline as well, what you need to realize is we've got the guys like the kind of arm and JCB who are
yeah,
stalwarts in the team right now, and they can hype up the team when they need to, and they can lead the team with the fact, I mean, JC had a couple of dominant tackles as well this weekend. Everybody was like, oh, he's overrated, and everybody's now singing his praises against South Africa.
yeah. I think Reid is one of the best 13s in the world and has been for a while. He's really exceptional. And he's kept the Kanye of the team mainly for the best part of 2 3 years. Well, 2 3 years ago, the Kanye was the best 13 in the world alongside Gary Ringrose maybe and some other guys like that. But now Reid was really taking that mantle on to work with the end.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason was also he's also been injured quite a few times, so that has
Yeah,
really he has missed a lot. So it's not like a case of like, oh, okay, well, Kriel's way better than you, because Rassi doesn't believe in that. Rassi's like, if you're in the team, you're in the team. You are not above the team. You are not above
yeah,
anyone else. You're not above the country. You're not above the Springboks. You're not above the country. You are doing it for the country. You are not doing it just to look great. You are doing it to make everybody look great.
yeah. I think that's what's really fostered that team spirit. But yeah, I think the only thing with this, I think they go for the forwards more than that. I think they go for like the likes of the fact the second row is a new second row. It's not your usual second row for the box. So there's a couple of names and that row forward pack that wouldn't play.
Well, I mean, Ox and Koch have played together at the Sharks, so coming on together as a prop pairing will be fine. The only one that really is a bit different is Mark, but Marks and Koch have played together so many times for the Springboks that it'll be literally like seeing your best friend.
Yeah, there's no change. Those two are having those two on the pitch at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, the one lineup that everybody's looking forward to and wondering how it's going to go is the Cornbetti versus Mpimpy, because there was
Oh, yeah, from 2 years
that
ago,
one tackle and then there was the retaliation in the next game, so this is going to be a bit of a. But the only thing that's going to really stop them is the fact that Cornbetti's on the left and so is Mpimpy. But you know how the game flows, the next thing on the left is on the right and the right is on the
yeah,
left.
they'll definitely clash somewhere along the line. But I was going to move on to the next topic. Obviously, the other game, the Rugby Championship last weekend, was a huge shock in Wellington. Argentina getting their third ever win against New Zealand, their second win away, after all of us and everyone wrote them off.
I mean, that was very interesting, and I think they've now hit their peak because Argentina has never really won more than 3 games in a row, especially away. So that is going to. But Pablo Montero, he led those guys. He even had a bit of a joke on the field because they looked like they were lining up for attack, and he turned around and went for 3. But again, that's where Australia didn't benefit. Is
Yeah,
he
there's
was like,
more leadership from the player that Australia don't have at the moment.
but I mean, the thing that worked out in his favour is he knows a bunch of the guys from the Santa Crusaders, so he knows the ins and outs of most of those guys. Whether or not it's the same thing now with someone like Kane coming back from retirement, which I was like, say what when I saw the lineup that they had. I was just like, why are you bringing back the guy that you axed and everything like that into the team? But is that maybe just to bring him on and calm everybody down when it needs to be? Because a lot of these players, like I said, they hype up, and the problem is you hype up someone too much, you hype up the rest of the team, and that's where those like sleep passes that happen that gave away the 2 tries that's
Yeah,
lost in the game. And that's why I would say someone like Anton Brown as well, which we also see on the bench, which I think is a kind of a okay, cool, let's have our game, and then the last 3 minutes, which the All Blacks have always been dangerous in, come in and actually have a level head and push through.
yeah, because obviously this test is at the Fortress, that Eden Park place that New Zealand haven't lost that since '94. The main
Yeah,
thing that I was really impressed with Argentina compared to past humans teams in the Rugby Championship more than the World Cup, Argentina always turn up at the World Cup. In the Rugby Championship in the past, they played great All Black teams, great Springbok team. They told them for 60 minutes and then they plateaued. They had no energy left. It was the same with Italy in the Six Nations. But Argentina, they found another level in the last 20 minutes. Rather than fall off, they got better and New Zealand could cope with them.
yeah. I mean, it was absolutely amazing to watch Argentina. Like, even though I predicted the All Blacks would win, I was actually saying, like, come on, boys. And Creevy, like, my lord, retired, came back, another player that's been doing that for these 2 teams. And, like, his interview was so amazing. Like, yes, we're going to celebrate now, but tomorrow we're going to be calm and we're going to work because we haven't beaten them twice in a row, especially at home for the
Yeah,
All Blacks. So, I mean, I'm waiting to see, but I think they're going to come back. You can see they've really, All Blacks have changed the team. I mean, they got someone like Caleb Clark in the team, who, again, he's in out. Is that really a good thing? Mark Tillier and both Caleb Clark are great wingers in a straight line. But when it comes to the dancing around, they're not that great because they
yeah,
rely more on their strength. Whereas someone like Cody Oncha and a Chase and Colby, they can dance around, but if they get hold of you, they're going to hold you. They're going to make sure you go down.
yeah. I think the Argentine winner, Mateo Pereira, actually showed his dancing skills when he let Mackenzie go into the kebab shop for the try. But yeah, that's where Argentina exploited. They scored beautiful tries out wide. Obviously, they scored the most points out of anyone in New Zealand away ever. The highest score was 36 when Saka beat them in 2018. I was going to say if you remember that game, of course you remember that game. But
Yeah.
yeah, they scored the most amount of points. You're going to have to score some tries, and you're going to most of the time have to score some half decent ones. And Argentina scored 2 or 3 absolute belters.
No, I mean, listen, the tries that the Argentinians scored were absolutely amazing. they pushed hard. They kept on choosing away. They kept their strength and they kept on hitting those rucks. Of course, when there was a knock on, they didn't just wait. They pushed on, which is I think they realized it probably would be a different game if there was a scrums for both sides. Whether Argentina would come off on top or whether New Zealand would come off on top is another thing. I mean, Ethan de Groot came off and then literally like 2 minutes later was the first scrum. I mean, it's kind of weird as for a prop to not play a game where there's no. It was almost like a game of touch, just with a bit of context.
Yeah, I didn't agree with Furman's comments though, because at the same time, you're never guaranteed strong against Argentina, because Argentina, over the last 10 years, are probably only behind the box and maybe one or two of the England side. Have the best scrum in the world today. It's not like you're playing Fiji, where Fiji's natural weak point is always sort of being the scrum. It's, Argentina have always seemed to level up that scrum, and I don't think that would have made a major difference. And a lot of people, especially John Kerwin, discussed during the week saying that it was the major turning point, that there was no scrum until the 60th minute.
No, I mean, yeah, until the 60th minute there was the first scrum, but I mean, like I still said, that takes a whole different level of fitness compared to running around and everything. Like you said, you get the time where you can kind of just relax and everything like that. I mean, the team right now looks like it's hard. I see Kramer's now actually playing at lock, not as a flank, but I mean, are they doing the same thing that South Africa's doing with Steph?
Yeah.
We've got Guerrero's 10 and 11, Chocobarrios at 12, and I mean, it looks like it's actually quite a hard team. And of course, Lavini, whether or not that was another thing that I was wondering if it was going to sway either way, because Lavini has been known for being a bit ill-disciplined and everything.
He's got the most cards out of anyone in international test history, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the most reds and yellows altogether. But I mean, what's kind of funny is I think since 2015 he's always had a thing to try and get Itzebeth because Itzebeth literally marched him back straight over the Eastern try line during the 2015 World Cup. Whether or not he's matured a bit and realised it's not a good idea to try to take on Itzebeth and everything. I mean, yeah, we'll have to see. It depends on how he pitches up and what side of the bed he wakes up on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's calmed down a bit over the last 2 or 3 years. Since that tackle in Owen Farrell in 2019 World Cup, where he took the man's head off his shoulders, he's kind of calmed down on the front of getting sent off every second game because he's bored. But I think that Argentina, they do a lot of backline ballers, like the two Carreras, Santiago Carreras, who I criticise a lot on sort of groups and stuff, is not really, he seems to play a lot better for Argentina than he does for Gloucester. Mateo Carreras, who, as I said, sent Mackenzie away at home, and Chocobarrios as well. Those three fellas that can change the game. Chocobarrios was exceptional in the Heineken Cup final, he was very good on Saturday. And yeah, I think if they get the ball, if they get the ball into those three especially, they can really target New Zealand that way again as it is on Saturday morning.
Yeah, I mean, they can, but also now you need to look at it. I see Scott Robertson has now actually decided to put Jordan starting. I know he's just come back from injury, but Jordan, for him not to score a try in a game that he's playing is a bit weird. I mean, any other person you could probably consider the same is Scotty Armstrong. I think he's got 80% chance of scoring a try. It was 79 before the last game. I think he scored 2, went up to 80% or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there too. Just Will Jordan every time you get the ball and he's playing against you, you're just terrified that he's going to break the line and score. But as you said, he's just back from injury, and Argentina showed the last game that you don't necessarily need to have a top tier A defensive the All Blacks these days. They still shoot 30 points in the end. They give away 10 penalties in the first 29 minutes.
Yeah, I was about to say the discipline let them down. I mean, probably a little bit different if the discipline was a lot better. And again, could be right. Could we have seen a different side with the scrums? Could there be more penalties against Argentina, which would have probably resulted in maybe 1 or 2 cards? You know, the ref just being a bit like, listen, too many penalties. Next one is off.
I think the other thing is you have to look at the fact that 10 penalties in the first 31 minutes, and New Zealand put them away. New Zealand should have the game won if they didn't concede that many penalties. So that's the great All Black side. The 2015 All Black side would have been 50 points up, or maybe not 50. They ran away with the game before. Argentina didn't look at them.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. I mean, they've definitely changed since coming into the championship and everything when they win Super Rugby, which now I hear apparently they might be back in now that the Rebels have pulled out.
Yeah, I heard the Warriors were talking about bringing them back in already.
Yeah, because as far as I know, the Rebels have pulled out of the Super Rugby,
Yeah,
which is a point that I've been hearing quite a bit lately. I heard John DeVilliers talk about the fact that the fans for Australia are going to other versions. They're going to League, AFL footy. In fact, other sports is getting more than rugby because rugby isn't performing like it used to. And I think it was you who said something along the lines of Rainey actually had something building, but then they just took it away from him.
Yeah, I really like the Rainey project. His last 5 games as manager, they went to the Northern Tour. They've done the hardest Northern Tour ever, where they play Scotland at Murrayfield, they play Wales and Cardiff, they play England at Twickenham, they play France and Paris, they play Ireland in Dublin. They beat Scotland at Murrayfield, they beat Wales and Cardiff, they did an incredible comeback, they had 17 points in one game. They lost to Ireland, France, and England by margin of 11 points. You know, I think they done that 4 now, they might beat Wales, but they probably get slapped by the other 4. So it just shows kind of where they were, and they had that unity. Ireland scored after their last 5 penalties, they kind of put them 6 points, kind of pushed them away, and France only beat them by a point in Paris, which is, you know, really good for anyone to kind of come back close in Paris.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Australia, were the first country to win 2 World Cups out of anyone. I mean, I was looking at stats this past weekend. I mean, if we go from the highest to the lowest percentage wins, it's New Zealand was 76.77%, which most of their losses actually come against the likes of South Africa and Australia.
Yeah.
Then it was South Africa 63.25. Again, most of their losses come from the likes of New Zealand and Australia. And you Australia, actually Argentina was 50%. And funny enough, Australia's sitting at 47.49, which is a lot lower than the likes of Ireland, Wales, England, and France. I mean, Ireland is sitting at 50.85%, Wales is 51.1, England's 55, France is 55.24. And I'm talking about overall games and everything like that. I mean, yeah, it's low for Australia. Whether or not they're going to take the opportunity to try and build onto that and get into the period in the 90s where you were more worried about playing Australia than you were playing against the likes of New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, I think that the thing is, Australia need to make their own ground fortress. Like, if you look at the other big nation, if you have to go away to Ellis Park or Victoria in South Africa, you're going more than anywhere else. It's Idle. You're going, oh God. You know, if you go to Eden Park, a lot of teams have accepted that game's over before the ball's been thrown.
I mean, 51. I mean, just the Eden Park's 51 max streak right now for New Zealand. I mean, like you said, the last game that they lost was 94 against France.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of teams that nearly accepted that they've lost 4 they've even played there. Paris is another absolute cauldron of a place. I mean, Ireland have won 3 times there since, I'd like to say, the 1970s. We've won 3 times there since the 1970s, which is mad.
Well, I mean, if you win there, you pretty much know you've got a Grand Slam.
As you said, if you win Paris, you pretty much have the Grand Slam sorted, or somewhat to it. Especially with some other nations. Who was it? I think it's Wales. Whenever they play France, they're only away against Italy. So Wales always says they win Paris, they're 50% of the way for Grand Slam. But you don't see that. Where in Australia do you kind of look and go, oh, you know, you're through if you come here? No real estate. Maybe in some court, but not really.
I mean, the Suncorp again was just down to South Africa. The fact that the last time we had one there was like 2013. And now we changed that, and we're gonna have to see what happens now the next time. I mean, unfortunately, I would like to see we play there instead of playing Perth. We could have played a game down here, probably like Durban, even Cabrera, which was formerly known as Port Elizabeth, and stuff like that. But we won't see them this year, unfortunately.
I think one problem for that is Argentina is the fact that it's so far away to Argentina. Because when you look on a map and you think it's not, the Pacific Ocean is way bigger than the Atlantic, so it's go quicker to go from Perth to Argentina flying over South Africa than it would be to go from Perth to Mendoza flying over New Zealand and Chile. So I think that's the main issue, is that if you were to play Argentina away and then have to play them again, you'd be gone. You're actually gone. The jet lag will get you.
No, I mean, listening to the like I said, the Coco and Box Office podcast with the guys that used to play, they used to say they used to literally land go party and only sleep the next morning, but to help with the jet lag. But I mean, that was also the time of like Tri Nations and then slowly into the championship. But I mean, that's the whole thing is again, it comes down to player management. I mean, the fact that now after this weekend we have a week break before the next games happen, whereas in the Northern Hemisphere you don't actually get that. It's literally bang, 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 because the tournaments are so busy there that you don't actually get that break. And it comes down my whole argument that why the Southern Hemisphere is going to win more World Cups, no matter what happens, it's because of player management. They get to the point that they're like, okay, cool. Well, you know what? It's World Cup year. We'll half the games. It's fine. If you win the championship, cool. If you don't win the championship, oh well, you know, it's because you're concentrating on a bigger goal. As in, when it comes to the Six Nations, they play the full Six Nations every single year, no matter what year. Then they still go into the European Cups because the sponsors want the money.
Yeah,
They keep playing there. They don't actually go like, oh, you know, it's World Cup year. You know, oh, well, Super Rugby was always like, oh, it's World Cup year. Cool. Well, half the games, half this, do this. Everybody needs travels. Max travel time is this, and everything like that. Each individual country used to say like, okay, cool. If you have an international player, they only allowed to play X amount of games. They're not allowed to play a certain amount of games, and it was across the board. So it no matter if you play against New Zealand team, Argentina team, a Australian team, South African team, you knew if Peter had run on for 5 games, you know he's off for the next 3 games.
yeah, that's the case now as well. You can only play a certain amount of games per season, which is why a lot of they always say a lot of the beating for URC for Irish international. You can't play a certain amount of games in terms of you can only play so much for your province. They don't want you playing against the Zebra at home. You know, if, all right, you have to play right, play against Toulouse or Irish European Cup, that's fine, but don't play against Zebra, don't play against the Dragons. But anyways, get back on to the point. This weekend, same fixtures, different stadiums. We're going to Perth first, South Australia. Thoughts, opinions, Richard.
South Africa up again. I'm going to say it's going to be a lot closer. So I'm going to say it came within 7 points. Let's say between 7 to 10 points. But it's going to be a different game. It's not a B side as they call it. I don't think there's any disrespect from Rusty.
Yeah.
In fact, if the team are calling in disrespect, I don't think they respect the players that are coming on enough, which could also be the downfall. But I do expect Australia to come back a little bit harder this time. But we shall see and everything like that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go for a back win by about 10 points, 11 points. I don't think that, to be fair, no Australian pundit, or maybe not pundit, an Australian figure inside that rugby might say, oh, this is bad, you can't do this, you can't do that. I think that, you know, that you need to build towards the next World Cup as well. You know, you can't keep playing the same players. Of course, I won 2 World Cups, but a lot of these guys will be 35, 6 in the next World Cup. Where you the likes of Vandenberg, Norchia, you know, these like Eller Glow, Stan Sal, these guys will be around to the Inner Convert, be someone closer on the next World Cup. So, of course, you try them out. And in tier 1 test against Australia, it's a good place to start them. Obviously, you can't play against New Zealand, you get ransacked, but it's a good place to start them off.
Yeah, I mean, right now you're going to have to play your top strength teams against the likes of New Zealand and Argentina right now as well. I mean, at home you could probably get away with a team like this now with the inexperience, but I still would rate the team. But I mean, it's all coming down. They've been part of the setup, even if they didn't play last year or anything like that. They were in the camps and everything like that. And we still got the likes of Andre Hugo Finter waiting in the wings for an opportunity, which we might see against Argentina. Whether or not he plays against the All Blacks, I mean, I'll still rate him he is a phenomenal hooker. I wouldn't call any team with disrespect to you. Like the New Zealand pundits have been saying, is he's bowling for the next World Cup and he's letting the youngsters play, but with the experienced guys there. So I mean, you look at the likes of Muratu, he's a very calm-headed guy, and someone like Peter Steph, who will definitely tell the guys like he doesn't talk much, but when he talks, everybody listens.
Yeah, well, obviously you had that. You had testing in Portugal, which was the best of both worlds. You got a bit of experience into some new legs, and you got Portugal a really good opportunity to play another tier 1 team and really show what they're made of. So that's why I say Ireland should be more of that in the year after World Cup. Play Portugal, Spain, Romania, USA, someone that you can just put out kind of some new faces, younger faces, put them into a test environment where they're not guaranteed anything, but that they should be able to overcome. I think that was a good decision by Razzie, or whoever organised that testing in Portugal, and Conte did a very good job of it.
I mean, we did have Georgia as a warm-up before the British and Irish Lions tests.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, in 2021. So I mean, there's always, and I do think the tier 1 nations need to give them opportunities. I was like, here we go, come play us. I mean, even while we having our Six Nations, your A side is busy playing against those guys at the same time.
Yeah, Portugal has American games in October as well, which is another tier 1 test for them this year. They're going to play Scotland in too.
Yeah, I mean, what's nice is, I mean, in the championship, 75% of the teams in the top 6, which is pretty much your top team in a pool for the World Cup if it stays like this until 2026, which Argentina will want. And we know Australia will try and fight back, but the likes of New Zealand and South Africa are going to stay up on top there.
Yeah, you say probably 5 of those slots are probably filled. You probably say France, England, and Ireland, Northern Hemisphere, New Zealand, South Africa, Southern Hemisphere will probably be in that top 6. Then you say Argentina, Scotland, Wales, Australia. If Fiji can build and keep building, there's a chance they could sneak that 6. But you say if probably those 5, if anyone else was to sneak that 6 spot, you'd be incredibly surprised. But yeah, you look at those 5 and you're saying, well, one of them has 5 Argentina has it at the moment, but it'll probably change back over. So New Zealand and Argentina, Eden Park.
I'm going to go New Zealand, see a different market altogether, probably a bit more intense and everything like that, because I can probably tell you right now, they're probably working hard as anything right now to try and mitigate their mistakes that they made.
I'd say, well, New Zealand, I think it'd be very close. I think New Zealand will up the intensity, but I think that Argentina will definitely bring the intensity. As you said earlier, Argentina have not done back-to-back versus New Zealand. They'll take a lot of inspiration from that. They'll also take inspiration from the Christchurch results 2 years ago when they beat New Zealand and when they beat them in Sydney in 2020. So I think they'll take this inspiration, but I don't think they'll have enough, especially in Park Fortress. If New Zealand were to lose that test, they'd really be ramshackles in the New Zealand media. They'd really be struggling. I can't believe I think they'll win by 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's very good points. And I mean, I was looking at, when was the last time you heard New Zealand lose like 6 or 5 games in a year? I mean, if you look at it, let's look at the Talk Cup where they lost to South Africa, then they lost to France, which was surprising, and then they lost to South Africa, and now they lost to Argentina, all within a space of a year. And I started looking, and I'm like, when was the last time you ever saw New Zealand do that? So I very much doubt New Zealand's going to let that record get bigger, that they look bad.
Lost as many tests in this 12-month period as they did between 2011 and 15. I think they lost. I think they've actually lost more. I think they lost 4 here. I think they only lost 3 between 11 and 15. They lost twice to Australia and once to South Africa. That's unbelievable.
No, I mean, it's unheard of from Australian side. I mean, not Australian, New Zealand side. I mean, like I said, they have a 76% win ratio out of all their games, and all of a sudden, that number is coming down and down slowly because over the past year, it hasn't actually been that great.
No, it's especially, they're losing to all kinds of different nations. As you said earlier, they typically lost to the great South African sides and the great Australian side. Argentina has beaten them twice in the last 4 years. Sorry, 3 times. They've beaten them 3 times in the last 4 years. France have beaten them twice in the last 4 years. Ireland have beaten them 3 times in the last 4 years. England have dropped. No, England drew with them in the last 5 years. I think and that's because England have only played them three times, and two of them were the tests in the
I
summer,
mean,
which England could have won both of those.
they lost to us three times last year. They lost to us one in the championship in Mbombela, Nelspruit, and then they lost the Qatar when we pulled off the first 7-1, and then they lost in the final to us. And I mean that in a year space, three games that you lose to a team like South Africa was like, I mean, I was sitting there as a South African, I was like, okay, cool, we're gonna win, but I was actually a little bit concerned. I was telling one of my buddies, I was like, we've already beaten them twice this year, and they've beaten us once, and now we're playing against them in a final.
Yeah,
And then it was like, yeah, but what's called, we've lost the game. Like the last year was the first time, well, I mean, the last World Cup was the first time a team had lost in the pool stages and won the World Cup. But I was like, but so is New Zealand. And they're like, oh, this is going to be like a very up in the air. I mean, technically, when it comes to World Cups, over the past two World Cups, South Africa has lost two games and gone on to win the World Cup, which what before 2019 was unheard of.
yeah, sure. I think England have only lost two games in the last two World Cups, and they have got to the final and finished third, which just shows the difference, the fine margins of when you lose. England have lost the same amount of games, and they've got, of course, they've got the two other highest finishes, but South Africa have the two things that people care about: the gold medal, the trophy.
I mean, it, going back to the Australian game, I mean, technically, including this game, Australia's only got two more home games this year.
Yeah,
Um,
they've this game, and then they have New Zealand at home in the final game or the second
yeah,
final game, I don't know which order that is.
and then they're off to the end of year tour.
They're off
So
the end of
yeah,
the year. They're playing Ireland and Dublin anyway, and I think I only know they're playing Ireland and Dublin. They're playing Scotland and Murrayfield. I don't know who else they're playing when they travel up north, which is concerning. I think then if you look at it, there's not too many nations you can really play. Nobody ever, which is probably a bad thing. Nobody ever travels away to Georgia, away to Portugal, away to Spain. So that means they're playing probably two of England, France, Wales, and Italy, none of which are winnable, especially because Italy have really improved. So it's where's the win's going to come from? Really, it's difficult to see.
yeah. So I mean, like we were saying, it's South Africa have won their last three matches. Australia has two home games left, and then they're off to end of year tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Uh,
to see.
I was going to ask you another question.
Yeah.
Tim Horan brought this up on the breakdown as well, and I think you brought it up last week. Do you think South Africa are a better side now than they were at the World Cup and in the preparation for the World Cup?
You see, I would say yes because I mean also a lot. I mean I think it was Horan and at the breakdown also said the fact that South Africa doesn't have a lot of changes to the team. In fact, they haven't lost any of the players, and they're already bringing new players and building up to the next World Cup. And I mean, there's a thing in New Zealand right now where they're saying beforehand, if anybody said, "Oh, the fear of the All Blacks have gone," they used to laugh in your face, and now they're actually going, "The teams don't fear us anymore." Like Rassie has brought out the fact that we are just human. We are not like people didn't go like, "Oh, we're playing against the All Blacks." Now they're going, "Well, Rassie's beaten us how many times more than most coaches altogether in the past year?"
Yeah, Ireland have beaten them four or five. They've beaten them five times in the last two World Cup cycles combined as
Yeah,
well.
and I mean, it's like, oh Lord, okay, cool. Now the fear of the All Blacks is gone because people have looked and seen South Africa going like, oh, okay, cool, they've done their thing. I think it was the 2019 World Cup where we were playing against Australia, but half the team was already in New Zealand, uh,
Yeah,
preparing. And by the time half the team rocked up, they were all rested and ready to play. But also, again, that was the whole process of it was a shorter championship and we were pumping in the game. So it was literally like one, two, three. Okay, cool. Now you guys can rest before the World Cup.
yeah. But I think the other thing is as well, you do say the fear of All Blacks is gone, I do agree. But at the same time, in most circumstances, to win the World Cup, the biggest trophy in rugby, you're going to have to beat the All Blacks. or just hope that someone else does. Like South Africa this time, they had to beat the All Blacks. Last time, yeah, England done the job
England.
for them, kind of. England kind of shoved them out, off the way, but still,
But that
they have to
semi-final. Yeah,
but in
that
every
actually
other
killed
World
them.
Cup, bar 2007, when France rocked out of the blocks, after poor groups, when they lost to Argentina, beat New Zealand out of nowhere. Every other World Cup, it's either the finalist or the winner has had to beat New Zealand because they've got to a semi-final. In 91, Australia done it on the way, South Africa in 95, France beat them in 99, Australia done it again in 03, '07, France, and then 19 England, this time South Africa. So
Yeah.
even with the fear factor kind of gone, you still kind of need to beat New Zealand to win the World Cup in most circumstances.
I mean, if I was New Zealand or even England, when it comes to a final and you see South Africa lining up, I would be concerned because right now against both teams we're 2 for 2, and they both 0 for 2 against us. Both our World Cups that we've won. I mean, we've won 50% of the World Cups that have ever existed, and all of our wins have been against the likes of England and New Zealand.
Yeah, and you can't exactly say South Africa haven't won their World Cups the hard route. 2023 was probably the most egregious example, having to beat France, England, New Zealand. 2019 was a bit of a lighter ride, and sort of you weren't playing three of the best teams in the world back to back to back, but you still had to play a hyped up Japan team that were at home.
That beat Ireland. You have to
That beat
remember
Ireland,
that.
that beat Scotland as well. But as I was saying, in
Yeah.
2019, you had to beat Japan, you had to beat Wales, a really good Wales team at the time, and you had to not scrape passing, you battered England and scrape past Wales. You had to beat England, who knocked out the mighty All Blacks. But
Hmm.
yeah, throughout the tournaments, South Africa have done it the hard way, and by the time they get to the final, the team who's playing them is kind of gone. They're battle hardened, like they haven't come into this without a test, and that's probably the most concerning thing. Is South Africa get one battle into them, and it's normally over because they just know how to beat you. If they beat you once, they know how to beat you forever.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough to say, and I mean, um, South Africa when it comes to a World Cup, if you beat them beforehand before 2019, it was like okay, cool. There's a good chance they're going to crash out somewhere along the line. But
Yeah,
now, when and I mean, there's a famous video that goes around here in South Africa after we lost to Ireland, where the one guy's like, remember, South Africa has to lose a pool game to win the final. And everyone's like, ha ha ha, check out the cocky South African. And then in the end, when you did it, everyone's like, oh gosh, that's not 2 for 2 when it comes to losing in the World Cup. And
yeah,
I mean, I did an event for a executive at one of my clients for the England game, and I mean, at the World Cup, England's only beaten South Africa once, and that was during a pool game. Every
yeah,
other game they lost. I mean, 2007, we had the incoming tour with them, and we literally whitewashed them. And then they're like, "Oh, okay, cool. It's a rematch in the first game that we played in 2007, and then we beat them." And then they're like, "Okay, cool." Then the final was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Here we go. It's now's our time to get redemption." And then we beat them again, and
yeah,
it was like it was South Africa right in a World Cup is a completely different level. I mean, 2011 we unfortunately had that Bryce Lawrence incident.
yeah.
Um,
But then it was a
2015,
disappointment
yeah,
for
I mean
South Africa.
2015. There was that joke going around. What do you call the fifth place playoff? The Six Nations, because it was literally New
And all
Zealand,
rugby championship.
Australia, South Africa, Argentina, and that's in fact how it ended in the end there. And then um 2019 it was literally like a fresh start for everybody. There was a lot of new starts. I mean, South Africa was under a bit of controversy regarding the likes of Alistair Coetzee, who still, to my honest belief, was he was a scapegoat for a whole thing. There was a lot of pressure here in South Africa to say like, no, you must only select South African based players, and a
Yeah,
lot of us were going like. but you can't afford to keep them because the rand is not that strong. And then literally 2 years he was out. But the irony is the amount of pressure that Alistair Coetzee got for a 50% win ratio compared to Russie, who also had a 50% win ratio. But it was just in 2019 where it kind of changed around. Like that 2019 period is
Yeah,
when it kind of started to drift away from 50% upwards, and then we had that World Cup where we first game New Zealand, who was coming after us. Yeah, there was some dodgy calls, but you can't go, oh, ref, da da da.
yeah. New Zealand deserve, from my memory, New Zealand were probably about the better side on that in Yokohama.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, there was a few where, God, I mean, I hate French refs. The French refs.
As a Munsterman more than an Irishman, we've got some egregious decisions down the years in the European Cup. We really have. If you look back at the history of it, some of those tight semi-finals we lost were there was a couple of dodgy decisions in them. Let's just say that. I don't want to attack refs. Let's just
Yeah.
say that.
I mean, there's always human error. I mean, Gardner, even against, was it Gardner that we had this weekend?
Luke Pierce.
Luke Pierce, sorry, yeah, Luke Pierce. The Gardner was the other game. Um, Luke Pierce, there was an incident where Australia picked up the ball and knocked it on in the rack, and because he had picked it up, Etzebeth broke the line. But then Etzebeth
Yeah,
got blown up for offside, and they went to the ref and they said, like, listen, sorry, but there was a knock on there, and Pierce said, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's a bit of human error. There's always going to be human error, which is what I love
yeah.
about
He
this thing."
admitted that on social media as well. Actually, he admitted that on his Twitter. He said, "Oh, I got that one wrong." He said it to someone in the comment section that asked him a genuine question about it. He answered honestly. I
Yeah,
don't know if you saw that on his Twitter, but
I mean, Gardner and Pierce, I do rate pretty highly. I enjoy them. I mean, they know Nigel Owens and everything like that,
no.
but I do rate them pretty highly. If they make a
I think
mistake,
the
they
best the best ref on the circuit at the moment for me is actually the Georgian Amish Kelly. I think his name is. I'm not fully sure, but I think he's been the best, most balanced ref I've seen currently on the circuit. Because I like him a
uh
lot.
yeah, he's also. I mean, he's also pretty good. I mean, the thing is though, like I said, if I see a French ref, I'm already like going, some of their calls are a bit,
They're always a bit, yeah, they're a bit looser, especially at the breakdown. They always say that in the European Cup, the French let you have to kind of pick it. If you have an English ref, they'll blow you quickly for holding on, but refs love chaos at the breakdown and kind of let fellas seal off and flock on each other and stuff like that. You kind
I
of have to
mean,
pick your battles.
yeah, it's true, but I mean, yeah. I mean, we're gonna have to see what happens this weekend. I don't know if the refs have been released for this weekend, but we shall see.
No, I haven't
Uh,
seen them anyway.
yeah, but I mean, the teams are great. I now see that all teams have been released, so I'm gonna do my fantasy picks tomorrow and
Yeah,
everything, and make my predictions. And we will have to just see what happens. It's going to be a tight weekend. Australia's going to want redemption. New Zealand's going to want, well, both home teams are going to want redemption because they lost at home,
yeah,
and
yeah.
especially
Yeah,
New Zealand right now with the way that the people are like asking questions right now. They're not going, oh well, you know what? It's they're asking serious questions right now of the team. Like, are you up to the game, or are you
yeah,
just
they are. There's certainly a lot more, as much. Probably not as high as it was back when in 2022 when they lost the Ireland series and lost to Argentina in Christchurch, but it's certainly a high level of scrutiny because there wasn't convincing nature about those England tests. A couple of centimetres here and there went for the All Blacks way that if England they got, they'd have won the two games. And now Argentina have turned up and kind of kicked down the door and won in New Zealand again. They have to redeem it this weekend more than Australia because if Australia were to win, it'd be a massive shock. In fairness, they just want a better performance. New Zealand have to win. New Zealand can't afford to lose this. Yeah, really.
yeah, I mean, South Africa's definitely going to be pushing for the win. They're going to definitely want to walk off with 5 points. They'll be happy with 4 points
They will.
right now.
Yeah. They'll take
And
that
I mean,
because they know if they beat New Zealand twice, then you're looking at, are you probably home and host? You don't know.
yeah,
Depends on how Argentina get on this weekend. If Argentina can get a losing bonus point this weekend and beat Australia twice, you could be going into a situation where those two games between South Africa and Argentina, the final one, decides the tournament.
yeah. Well, I mean, we could talk for hours and hours on end. I think we need to end it. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
Darren wasn't able to join us today because the man, the corporate world decided to keep him behind.
yeah.
uh,
But thank you for listening to this podcast. We've enjoyed speaking to you, and we'll be back next weekend to review these games. Thanks very much.